Hey y'all, what's up? JamiThatsMe here. Welcome back to the channel, honey, and welcome back to another quick chat. Today on the quick chat, we got to talk about Destiny Payton. She recently did an interview with the Dear Future Wifey podcast over on YouTube, of course. And she kind of got into a few things. She touched on her ex-husband, which was pretty interesting because I wanted to know what was she going to reveal to us that she wasn't going to reveal on the show, because again, she made it seem like she couldn't say nothing or speak on any of that, during the show or in interviews or whatever. So we're going to get into that. She's also going to talk about the Crime Stoppers situation. She talks a bit about her childhood as well as, her mom or whatnot. She also goes on to talk about that ex-man that we saw her bring onto the show that is now married to the producer over there at Love and Marriage Huntsville. Girl, that was messy, but she definitely touched on it. Okay. And I want to go ahead and talk about it and kind of recap the interview for you guys that may not be interested in watching the full interview for yourself. Okay. The interview is roughly about an hour and maybe 14, 15 minutes, somewhere up in there. So, just want to give you guys that. All right. Now, as we get ready to get into this video, y'all already know what I'm going to ask you guys to do, and that is to support the channel. And you can support the channel by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing the content. Okay, definitely share this video and others that you may choose. Okay, we definitely appreciate all of the support. So I want to go ahead and put that out there and say thank you very kindly. Now, girl, let's go ahead and get into some things, okay? So, first off, all right, when it comes down to the show, he asked her, like, why the host asked her, like, why are you no longer a part of the show? Like, why did you just disappear all of a sudden? Why did you go upstairs like the young girl from Family Matters and you never came back down? What happened? So she says that she's no longer on the show due to, she was like, how can I say this? Contractual issues. That's what it is. She said it was contractual issues. Yeah, that's the political answer. So basically, what is given to me is that, like she said, it's the political answer. It's not the true reasoning as to why. I think that she's not there because she would not open up and share a lot of her life. And I feel like Carlos mentioned that a few times over on his channel, where he kind of referenced, like, if you're not trying to give me more of your life, then girl, if you that's kind of like you not doing your job. Therefore, if you're not doing your job, why do you have one? In so many words. Okay. I paraphrased on my own, but it's pretty much what he was saying. All right. Now, the host mentioned it must have been because of money. Now, this is what he says to Destiny after Destiny said contractual issues. He says, okay, that must be because of money. But notice Destiny never answered that question when he asked, was it because of money? All she did was really laugh or whatever. So she never answered the question, but she did kind of make a face. So I don't believe it had anything to do with money at all. I do believe that Destiny would have likely taken whatever amount Carlos was willing to give her, in my personal, maybe not less than what she was already given. But I don't think that, she would have gotten more. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that if he was paying her, let's say 15,000 an episode, I think she would take that. I don't think that she would be like, oh, can I get 20,000? So I don't really think it had anything to do with the contractual portion. I think it has a lot to do with her withholding her own story because she wasn't willing to share. I think if she was willing to give more of her own life, then they probably would have been willing to give her more money, possibly. Who knows? Okay. Now she does say that her divorce, she talks about that. She says the divorce ended back in 2021. At least she thought it ended in 2021. She says the divorce has now carried over to 2024. Okay. She says what happened is that, he pretty much opened the case back up. So she says that anybody could really reopen the divorce case if they want to. Of course, you got to pay the money and stuff like that. If there were certain things that you needed to get clarified or whatever the case is, right? You can reopen up your divorce case. Well, and that's my first time ever hearing that. I didn't even know you could do that. But she says that her ex-husband, who's LeBaric, okay, she says that he pretty much opened up the divorce case to hold her in contempt for some things. So she made it appear as though it was a list of things that he was trying to hold her in contempt for, but she really only touched on the more recent thing, which was that utility contract and the reason why she went to jail. All right. Now she says that she doesn't get child support from him. She said her son was roughly about 8 months or something like that at the time when the divorce and things were going down. So she just really wanted everything to be over. But even though she mentioned that at 8 months, the divorce and things were like getting finalized, it still kind of makes me question, like, Destiny, I thought he left you after 3 weeks, after 3 weeks after you had that baby, which is so ultimately, in my opinion, effed up. Okay. And I understand a lot of people want to make Destiny the bad guy because of how she showed up with the friendship with Mel and stuff. But listen, y'all, that is some effed up stuff for a man to just walk away from her after 3 weeks after she just had a baby. What the hell? And if she was that bad of a person, because I've also heard those conversations where it's like, well, girl, what did you do? What did you do for him to walk away after 3 weeks? Girl, whatever it is that she may have done being in postpartum 3 weeks, he has already been aware prior to, hello, prior to her giving birth. So if he wanted to skip out, his ass could have been skipped out. So the fact that he left her after 3 weeks is like, that's trifling. That's effed up in my personal. Now, a lot of people try to allege that the child was not his, but I believe that baby looked just like that man. Okay, he might not be as bright as that man, but he looks just like that man. I don't believe that that's not his child. I believe that is his child or whatever. Hence, he's still doing for the child, must still be his, whatever the case is. All right. But my thing that I'm really getting at, the reason I brought up the 3 weeks was because if he left you after 3 weeks and you knew for a fact that y'all were about to get this divorce, then why would you go all the way to the 8 months and then just decide that he does not owe you any child support? I understand that you want it to be completely all over. But I think he should have been held accountable for that financially for y'all child. That's just what I think. Even though he still is taking care of the son with him not being on child support, but if he's been so abusive to you and he's done all of these things in this marriage as you allege that he has, then girl, if you've shown up a certain way in the marriage and then now we're separating and you left me and your son after 3 weeks, I don't know if you're gonna leave him again after 3 years or whatever. So run me my mother money. Hello. Period. That's just what it is that I'm thinking. Okay. Now, yeah, she says that she doesn't get child support and she didn't put him on it because she wanted everything to be over. So she literally gave him everything that he requested. Okay, she's talking about whether it was silverware, girl, plastic plates, cups, spoons, whatever. Okay, if he wanted the lint on the damn ground, she made sure he got that and the dust off the baseboards because she just wanted everything to be over. Okay, that makes me think of somebody's song. I just want it to be over. Is that Keisha Cole? Somebody let me know. Anywho, so she was asked if it's still legal for her to not speak on the divorce or can she talk? Now, Destiny responds and says, I can speak on it. And I'm like, okay, you can. All right. So I guess the contract or whatever, the limitations, whatever it is, the time frame has now expired. So you can talk. Okay, let's keep going. So she lets us know there is no child support, there is no custody or visitation type situation going on. She says that it has she said the issues between them has always been him trying to hold her in contempt and put her in jail. Okay. She says, such as talking about him in interviews. Okay. So I guess she may have probably started talking about him in interviews, and that right there could have led to her getting the contempt situation with the utility contract and her being locked up. Okay. She said it was never in her divorce decree for her to not discuss him in interviews. And for me, my eyebrows raised because I'm like, well, if that's the case, why did you do the interview with OLFP and then sit up there and say that because of what you signed in your divorce decree, you could not talk about that on the show or in the interviews? Why is that? Now, granted, I will respect it if the decision is you just weren't prepared to talk about it because one, you just weren't prepared to talk about it, and two, you don't know which way he gonna go with it. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how he's gonna respond or what he's gonna do if you do talk about it. So I have to understand that, right? But you could have just said that. You don't have to make it seem like it was all tied up in some paperwork, and that's why you couldn't talk about it. But anyway, she says she did agree to not speak on him or his family when it comes to the show. That is something she said. She was, that's in the divorce decree for sure. But as far as talking about him in interviews or on my channel or any, on my Instagram or whatever, like, girl, that wasn't a part of it. Okay. She says she did that on some moral type stuff. That's what she say. Now, she also says that she thought keeping her silence about things that was going on between her and him would protect her son. She says, but she didn't know she would have to sit through narratives that just weren't true, whether it was narratives that, fans created or things that he pushed out there or people assumed based on her details, surrounding her divorce or whatever. So she said that's why she was quiet, because she thought she was protecting the son And that's crazy to me because Destiny, when you talk about when we hear this interview, at some point during this interview, you're going to say that you were never protected, right? And that's a trauma response. That's like some trauma things dealing with you. It can be a trigger for you and stuff. And what's disappointing to see a little bit, not completely, but for me, is the fact that not only were you not protected by others, but it also appeared that you didn't even protect yourself. And that's what's very disappointing. Okay. Sometimes speaking your truth is protecting you. Although you're thinking that that's your way of protecting your son by being silent, you got to protect yourself first. I feel so that you can be something to him and then be able to protect him. But that's just what it is that I'm thinking. Um, those are just my thoughts, girl. I just feel like you should have spoke up on this situation. A while. I wish not maybe not exactly at the time when everything happened, but at some point I wish you would have. But what I can appreciate is that it seems like you're starting to get to that place where you are protecting yourself. Okay. Everybody has their own time frames as to when they rise to the occasion. And you're in that space now because you are working on yourself and you're getting the healing that you need or whatnot, right? So then the next thing, let's see what else happened. So she says that he was able to still abuse her in different ways. Okay. She says with her being silent, she thought she was protecting her son, but it only allowed him to abuse her more. So the question is, how did he abuse you? See, a lot of times when we hear the term abuse, a lot of people assume that it's physical, but she says no, it was financially and by him using the judicial system against her. Like that is how he has gone about abusing her. Okay. So that's what Destiny said. But again, okay, there is more. Now she says she says that he was never the breadwinner. Okay. She says she was the breadwinner. All right. Well, at least that's how it came off to me. She didn't necessarily say that she was the breadwinner, but she said that he never was. So when you say that he wasn't, it only leads me to believe that you were. She says that she did ask him to pay for the mortgage for at least 1 year. Okay. She says, pay for the mortgage for 1 year. And here are my two options. Either I move completely out of the house or I would just refinance the house in my name. So she said what she decided to do was end up refinancing the house in her name. But he refused to give her the mortgage statement. And she says that's when like the narratives begin that, oh, he did so much for you. He did this and that, da 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 da. You should appreciate him and this, that, and the other. And she's like, those things simply just were not true. Now she says the home was in his name because he had the VA loan. And she decided she was going to refinance it for herself. And she just needed the mortgage statement in order to finalize the closing. So she got it refinanced, got cleared or whatever the case was. And when she needed it for closing, he withheld it from her. He would not give it to her. And if that's the case, I feel like that is so effed up. That is so effed up. So he wasn't the breadwinner, but you let him put the house in his name because he has a VA loan. Why could your name not go on the property as well? Why did you just let it be his name? I am a little confused with people that may have dealt with like a VA loan and closing and all of that. Y'all hop down in the comments and let the people know how that process works. Now, I do know you can buy a house with your husband, wife, and only one of y'all names go on the property. I do understand that. And then some people put both of their names on the property. But um I'm just a little confused as to why she even allowed that to happen. And I really only say that because I feel like however LeBerick showed up in the marriage is how he also showed up in the relationship. And I feel like LeBerick, the signs that he gave her wasn't nothing new. I think she just decided to go ahead and marry him because they had been together for so long. But based on how he moved, I just feel like, did you think it was like the best thing for y'all to do to just get the house only in his name? You know what I'm saying? Because if anything were to go left, then he really was gonna be the one putting your ass out because it's technically his house or whatever like that. So I don't know, girl, but that was just my thoughts. I'll let y'all people that's more experienced in that department hop down in the comments and share it with the people. Okay. Now, when it comes down to the Crime Stopper situation, she does talk about that. And she says that Martell called her and told her she was on Crime Stoppers. Like the very next day that all of the tea was put out about her being on there. She said my Martell called her and he was like, man, I'm mad. I'm mad. I'm so upset. Are you good? Are you okay? She's like, boy, what are you talking about? He was like, girl, you on Crime Stoppers. And she was like, Martell, stop playing with me. Get off my phone. And she hung up in Martell's face. This is what she's saying. And she says that she was confused as to why it even got that far when LeBerry had just put the details in or pressed charges or whatever 4 days earlier. So how is it now blasted to everybody as if she's wanted for some type of situation? She says that, as if she's been in hiding. So she says she believes that someone put those details out there. That's what she thinks. Somebody called, put those details out there, or whatever the case was. All right. And it was done to pretty much embarrass her. That's what she's believing. Now, she said that she knew somebody on the board of Crime Stoppers and she asked them about this. And they said, that's not even our process. Like, we only do that when we really having to like search for somebody, but that's not what we do. Now, we don't know if that could have been a fan of the show. Okay. Or if that actually could have been LeBerry that was out here, putting that tea out. So I don't know. Now, she does go on to kind of like speak about the crime, not the Crime Stoppers, but her like foster home situation. But it kind of piggybacked off of her talking about Crime Stoppers because she says that with the Crime Stopper situation, it could have got real serious for her. Like if the cops were looking for her and they pulled up on her and she had her son with her, it could have led to her being arrested or whatever the case is. And that would have broke her. And it made her reflect back on when she was a child and how the cops came and got her and her brother from her mom. So she didn't want to like relive the same trauma and put her son through that particular situation. And she does go on to detail her mom being, arrested or whatever, her being taken away by the cops because she didn't want to go with the neighbor and her neighbor's sons because, they kind of like violated her or whatever. So she kind of talks about that particular story. She goes down that road and dives deeper more into her story. But she does speak on the forgery situation as far as the contract. She says she didn't know why she was there in jail. She was sitting over there like, excuse me, can somebody tell me why I'm here? What is this about? She says when she learned that it was about utility contracts, she says that she does not have any of his contracts and she never has had any of his contracts. Okay. She has no utilities or nothing dealing with that's in his name. So she couldn't afford something that she never had, is what she's saying. She says that she has called police plenty of times on him. So she was a little shocked that he did that because she says she's called police plenty of times, but she was never able to actually go through with it. Even when people were telling her to press charges and stuff, she said she could never do that. So for him to take it that far to where it landed her to be in jail, she felt like that was really fucked up. And it was, okay? If you really did not do what he is accusing you of doing, all right? Now she says that she says she was married to someone that seeks pleasure in her pain. This is what she's saying now. All right. She says that she is in a trauma-based therapy. She needed a higher level of therapy. So she went and got trauma-based therapy. She says that she often goes back to when it comes to therapy and stuff and her reflecting on different things in her life, she often goes back to that place of not being protected as a child. She also touches on her not being protected as a pregnant woman. She says, although she suffered 5 miscarriages, she says that LeBerry decided to kind of punish her because she would not name their child a junior, naming the child after him. So she says that he refused to acknowledge her as his wife on his insurance. And because of that, it left her with a bill of $20,000. Okay. A $20,000 hospital bill. Yikes. He was really mad about that. So much so that he left you with a bill of $20,000. And in addition to that, he decided that he was going to leave your ass after 3 weeks. So he was that mad. Listen, for me, I know a lot of people want to make Destiny out to be the enemy and stuff like that. And I'm sure that she was in certain situations, but listen, I do not believe that ex-husband of hers is 1000% innocent at all. At all, I do not. But what I will question is, Destiny, if you've been through so much stuff that you've been through with this man, how could you go on and be and go forward and like really maintain the friendship with Martell the way that you have, and knowing that he ruined his marriage and the things that he was doing even after the marriage. You know what I'm saying? So how could you go on and like befriend and continue to, have a friendship with that type of person, knowing what you may have went through as a woman? And although I asked that question, I would love her to answer that. I do think that Destiny's response in this situation are a lot of women. I don't know why, but a lot of women go through different traumas and stuff with their men or their ex-men or whatever, and then try to show up to support the next man. And it's like, do you think that you're going to be able to help fix that person or something because you couldn't fix the person that you were with? Like, what is that really about? But I feel like she's not the only woman that has shown up in that type of space. A lot of women have been abused and then go on to support and defend abusers. Like, I don't know. And again, I don't know if Martell has ever touched Mel. I did see an interview where Mel said he's never gotten physical with her. But just as Destiny said in her interview, LeBerick abused her in different ways, like financially and, using the judicial system or whatever. So there could be different ways that Martell could have went about that when it came down to the relationship with Melody. So it's just interesting that you went through a lot, but then you're still supporting him. Is it because his abuse towards her didn't look like what it looked like for you and your relationship? Like, what's that? But I just had a question. So anywho, she says she is now saying to the ladies, do not stay in a relationship for potential. You can't love them through it. Once they start putting their hands on you, you can't go back. All right. She said that they did have therapy, and then at some point he just stopped showing up. And she says that a therapist told her that if she did not leave him, he was going to kill her. And I said, whoa, so it's gotten that serious. It's gotten that physical for you. That is girl, that's some stuff. This is what we wish you would have spoke on the show. But of course, she said, according to the divorce decree, she couldn't talk about those things. All right. But I wish she would have been able to tell her story sooner than later. But again, I feel like she's in that better space to speak on it after she's gotten some of the therapy that she has received so far. Now, she does speak on the death of her big brother. She felt like he was her protector at one point, because when those other little boys, those two brothers, violated her, she told her brother about it. Her brother was her safe space. He then, stepped in as in a position of being her protector, right? What we learned, and this actually ends up making her get emotional, and she cries about this, the loss of her brother. We learned that her brother was in a bike club or something, or a car club up north. And what happened was somebody that was supposed to be his friend ended up shooting him and then burning his body up inside of a home. And all of this happened like 2 weeks before she was supposed to graduate school. So I don't know if it was college or high school, which one it was, but he died. I believe he was like 29, 28, somewhere in his late 20s. And, when I hear this story, I do kind of feel a bit bad for Destiny in my personal, because I'm looking at everything that she has had to like go through as a child, from being violated as a child to your mom not showing up how she needs to show up and continuing to not do so, even at this grown age in your life. Ain't no telling what else has happened in between that time frame before her brother passed away. Okay. And her having to deal with that, and then she gets in this relationship with this man who she thinks she's gonna spend the rest of her life with. He over here leaving her with a $20,000 bill, even after all of the miscarriages that she's had and the IVF situation or whatever the case is. And he wouldn't even put you on his insurance, so then now you have to put the bill on that, right? He wouldn't even give you the mortgage statement to the house when you were trying to refinance the home or whatever. So I do feel a little bad for Destiny, even though I do have some questions, because I feel like she's been through a lot throughout her life that has caused her to create this defense mechanism and have this guard up and come off so aggressive with people, because she ain't got nobody to protect her or have her back. So I think she assumes that when she shows up as this tough girl, it's supposed to make people afraid to cross her in a certain manner or whatever. And that can actually be damaging for you when you show up like that sometimes, so it's good that she get into therapy or whatever that she needs, in my opinion. But I'll let y'all continue to share your thoughts about that. Now, she speaks on the show and says, watching herself, she didn't really recognize herself. She says she does naturally show up. I guess I think the term was aggressive. Don't quote me on that. But she does naturally show up like that because that's kind of how she is, right? Again, I feel like that's a natural defense mechanism for her. She says that as she, has watched the show and stuff, she can see what her triggers are. She sees it more now that she's been to therapy. She can see, oh, okay, when they said this or they did that, that triggered me because of this, that, or whatever. Okay. She seemed to throw a shot at Melody as she was kind of talking about these triggers and stuff. And she said, people don't know what it's like being on television or whatever when you're having a conversation with somebody off camera thinking you guys have resolved your issues and all is well in the land, only to wait until the cameras roll and the person all of a sudden got a beef with you and you looking at them like, girl, what? We beefing? I thought we just got everything resolved. Right. So that's something that she ended up bringing up. And I feel like that was a shot towards Mel. Okay. She says that she would return to the show if they told her story the right way. And I'm like, Destiny, baby, how are they going to do that if you're not allowing yourself to open up? Now you're allowing yourself to open up a little bit, so maybe they can possibly tell your story the right way. But make no mistakes, like you were gotten rid of on the show because you wasn't opening up. Like, I feel like that's a you fault. I don't think that's necessarily a them fault. Okay. Now, y'all let me know y'all thoughts about that situation there, okay? But listen, she does get into a little bit of the mess now. She does bring up the producer dating her ex, okay? She says that the producer was actually assigned to her when it comes to her storyline. And she said the producer lied to her and told her that her man, Destiny's man at the time, was the producer's cousin. The producer said, "This my cousin," just lying. So she says that she had been broke up with the guy. She said he gave her red flags. She knew he was never gonna be her husband. It was some things that was off. So she been called it off because she was like, it's certain things I'm just not gonna go through again. So I'm done with it. So she says they're trying to pitch a show around her. And in so many words, pretty much calls this man an opportunist because she said at one point back in the day, she was dating a rapper. And when she was dating a pretty well-known rapper, on and off, she said that this guy, her ex, who was a longtime friend of hers because she's known him for 15 years, he shows up in her life. He pops up wanting to, rekindle or get something started with her. Then she says when she ended up getting on Love and Marriage Huntsville at a later time, the relationship ended with her ex. Next thing you know, he pops up. Now they're not together anymore. And then what happens? He ends up hooking up with the producer. So it's like, were you really there for me or were you there for what you could get out of me and all of that? Like, what is that really giving? Okay. So this is what Miss Destiny is pretty much saying. She said they had only broken up for about 5 months by the time she ended up getting a text from, I think, the girl, where they were saying like, hey, me and him are really getting serious or whatever like that. Yada, yada, yada. Just giving her a heads up. Not so much as asking permission about whether they could date, but just more so giving her a heads up, like, bitch, this is what it is, okay? Now, she says that her and the girl, after she stopped doing the show, they still stayed in touch with each other. She says she confided in that girl about her life, about her relationships, whether it was about LeBaric or the dude that she's dating. That's crazy. That's crazy. She would tell this lady all kind of stuff. And then she also said, which was interesting, she said they met at her birthday dinner. So Destiny said she had a birthday dinner that her ex-boo and the producer met at. And I'm like, nah, boo, that wasn't their first time meeting each other. They probably been knew each other. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. That's just something they told you. And she says that the girl was supposed to be there with his cousin, but she guessed not. And I'm like, girl, all of that was a scheme that they set up to come to you with the bullshit, which is crazy to me because now they're out here, according to her, pitching a show that's supposed to be, I guess, around her. I don't know, but that man is definitely giving opportunities. And this is why, girl, you got to be a little more careful before you send up there putting this man all on your page. And this is for anybody talking about my man or whatever like that. And it ain't really that solidified because when she did that, I don't even think they was together that long. You know what I'm saying? Before she started putting him all out there, and at first she wasn't really showing his face, and then she started showing his face or whatever like that. Girl, the man wouldn't even come on the show. I don't recall him ever being on the show. Maybe he made like one appearance or something, but I don't really recall him being on the show. But you could turn around and get with one of the show's producers, baby. If that ain't messy, I don't know what the is, okay? But Destiny kind of goes on to talk about how she's working on herself and everything, and all of that. She didn't say whether she's up to much. We just know that she has a candle line that she's selling, and she's also, working on a podcast. Seems like she's picking up different speaking engagements here or there. So she's trying to continue to keep herself out there in the public eye. She did mention she has a life coach as well as going to therapy. So I don't know what else is up, for Miss Destiny that will be, getting to see. Not necessarily sure, but we'll just have to wait and see what's gonna happen. I don't know if she'll ever return back to the show. But it is what it is. I guess y'all can go over there to Disney's Instagram page if y'all want to kind of keep up with her life and see what she's up to this week, next month, next year, honey. But that's really all that I got. That was pretty much the recap of everything that I captured. But y'all are welcome to go over there and check it out for y'allself and get your own perception and breakdown of what it is. But that's all that I got at this time, honey. Let me know your thoughts about everything we talked about when it comes to this interview that Destiny did with the Dear Future Wifey podcast. I am Jamie. That's me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share my videos. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JamiThatsMe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one, honey. Bye-bye.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mile. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler, the flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I've been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but you run no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble.